look at what's ahead, one force stands out in changing the landscape of communications, and that is artificial intelligence. Very hot topic, folks. It is reshaping advertising with speed and creativity, but it also raises tough questions about ownership, accountability, and truth. So to dive deeper to our second panel of discussion, Control, AI, Delete, defining the legal and ethical boundaries of AI in advertising, let us watch this video.
Artificial intelligence is changing advertising as we know it. But when machines can create anything, who owns the idea? Who's responsible? This newfound power comes with risks, with deepfakes, false claims, and a flood of content with no gatekeepers. So, the bigger question is, do we control AI, or does AI control us? Welcome to the discussion of the responsible use of AI in advertising.
Okay, so now let us welcome our panelists. To start off, he is the managing partner of Javier Santiago Torres and Pangulan Law Offices. May we call on Attorney Josh Santiago. Attorney, welcome back. Meanwhile, we also have with us the Executive Director and Chief AI Ethicist of Data and AI Ethics, PH. Let's all welcome Mr. Carl Joe Javier. Hello there. Good afternoon, attorney. Good afternoon, Carl Joe. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And of course, the topic that we are going to discuss this afternoon is a very hot topic because it's all about AI. Kanina naman, were you here this morning? We were discussing AI with Miss Maria Reza, diba? And yun nga, I just had to ask her with all the falsehoods happening online, no? And apparently associated with AI, is AI really the bad guy here? Is it really the adversary, or can it be an ally? Diba? Kasi it's been used for so many purposes, and oftentimes nadidemonize siya. Okay, so so we're honored to have you here with us. And again, to our audience and viewers, you know the drill. You may use the QR code on the table or flashed on screen to submit your questions. Okay, so now to lead us to discuss the legal landscape surrounding AI and advertising, we give you Attorney Santiago.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy 50 years of self-regulation. It sounds fun. It's odd to me because it's like happy 25 years of self-medication. Anyway, we have common ground, you and I, advertisers and lawyers. We both deal with persuasion and communicating ideas through words and illustrations. We are both also accused of making greatly exaggerated claims. This will solve all your problems. My client is completely innocent. How now can AI change this way we convey concepts and tell truth? Will AI help and hinder? The world will look drastically different, ladies and gentlemen, in 5 years. 5 short years. AI is changing and will continue to change the way we live. It is the most important technological leap since mobile internet was developed. It's reshaping how we work, learn, and communicate. Turn on Google Translate if you have and set the listening mode to Japanese. Can we have the slides? Okay.
もうすぐ新年が近づいていますが、多くのフィリピン人はすでに離婚しているにもかかわらず、いつ結婚から解放されるのか疑問に思っています。 フィリピンで日本の離婚を承認してもらうには次
Anyway, that's me and that's not me. You see, I don't speak Japanese. But through AI, we can now communicate using AI avatars in any language we want. I posted this last December to the Filipino-Japanese community because there were many Filipinos who were already divorced in Japan, but still married here in the Philippines because we don't have divorce here. But is the video truthful? Is the video ethical? What if someone clones me without my consent and suddenly uses AI like this to make me or what appears to be me to say all sorts of nasty things? There is a proposal by the Intellectual Property Office, although it's not yet law, but to amend the intellectual property law to extend neighboring rights to cover digital likenesses of artists and creators from being infringed. I'm sure you all know what AI does. But AI, what is AI? AI is a machine. It's a large language model or LLM. It's a program, a machine that has finally been trained to understand human language and not just code, and to respond in human language as well. Through machine learning, more powerful tools, and huge memory banks, this is now possible. But as the question goes, with most of technology, is it going to be bad or good? It can be used for good or evil. And now that we are at the ground floor of AI, we have an opportunity to get the foundation right since we are still in the early stages. We need to tackle the subject head on and not just in our industries, but in our homes, our churches, and our schools. How to use AI and when not to use AI is a growing concern in education, art, social media, news reporting, as well as cybersecurity. In fact, in the last 6 months, traffic surged to more than 500% in AI use instead of usual search engines. And Google is now shifting its ad targeting from keyword search to the full context of your AI conversation. Someone is listening to your AI conversations, at least a Gemini. My favorite tech billionaire philosopher, Naval Ravikant, exaggerates and calls it infinite leverage. Leverage, according to Naval, can be capital or money, people, content for influencers, or code. To leverage capital, you need money, of course, but the more limited your money, the more limited your leverage. Same goes with people, unless you're in a huge volunteer organization. And you can only make so many TikToks, right? But for people who can use code or AI, it is permissionless leverage. It multiplies what you can do without a proportional cost. But what does this mean to people in advertising? In creative work, now that AI can do most of what we can do, but do it in seconds. AI gives you exponential leverage. And knowledge of how to use this leverage will enable us to communicate better and faster than ever before. At the very least, for me, it has made work that much quicker, and as a consequence, has increased my capacity to do more, to serve more clients, or to have more time for my family. Imagine hiring a writer, researcher, graphics designer, marketer, video editor, all working 24/7 for only $20 a month, or 1,100 pesos. And this brings us now to the $1 trillion question. My legal secretary asked if they were going to be replaced by AI. Attorney, papalitan mo na ba kami ng AI? I said no. We're going to 10x our business because of AI. You see, AI won't replace you, but people who use AI will replace you. Some jobs will disappear, but others will rise. And those who would survive and prosper must learn how to use this new engine, this new machine. The pending Senate bills calls for retaining and displacement assistance to labor, which is it's well-meaning, well-intentioned. But it remains to be seen what the legislation will actually be. There are 2 bills, at least, one by Senator Cayetano, which is more like the European bill to regulate and you need to register your AI models, which is a bit, for me, costly and will add more red tape. And the other, filed by Congressman Romualdez, is more liberal. It's more like the US model. It will support AI and support innovation. But a balancing of both is necessary. So AI excels in narrow, repeatable tasks and is a powerful vehicle, but it still needs someone to drive. AI cannot replicate the complexity of the human brain. It cannot do contextual reasoning. Boss, pasensya na, hindi ko nakita, no left turn pala, may sign pala. It knows code and math and logic and now language, and can even use our language to mimic it back to us and state it even better sometimes. But AI never fell in love. It has never experienced pain. It does not know at its core the concept of justice if a loved one was murdered during a fake drug bust. AI is not touched by the divine, inspiring, convicting, pioneering, having eureka moments or insight. I've tried it with a case once. I asked AI for the solution. I checked and it didn't give me a satisfactory answer. And then I prayed and the Lord gave me the answer, so I should have prayed first. No? Maybe AI will improve, but moral discernment, good judgment, and inspired wisdom will always be beyond machine reach. Nonetheless, despite its limitations, it can still do a lot. AI, and since AI is leveraged for time and effort, it will replace a lot of mundane tasks like encoding, counting, copying and pasting, even some writing and admin skills. That's why there will be major job disruptions, but new ones will arise. For those new to AI, of course, there are 4 major applications. You probably only touched the tip of the iceberg. I asked AI to help me alliterate and it gave me 4 A's, but I didn't like the first one. So I changed it from augment to assist, which is for research and insight, which most of us are already using. Author, creation and co-writing, from charts and arts to reports and even legal pleadings. Third is to automate, for process or workflow automation. And finally, to act as agents and physical AI that, like, if you went to Jollibee and saw the Jolly robots, right? Ay mga nagsaserve dun. Or self-driving cars. Or even agentic campaign makers that create campaigns, plot them, then schedule them, then post them. Pwede na po yun. But we will just focus on the first 2 very quickly. First is the assist or the research and insight. So pro tip, this is a prompt that you can use by tech blogger Chandulu to help your AI not hallucinate. But also on the AI Assist application, you can actually use this on your drive. So when I drive to work from Silang Cavite, during the 1 hour and a half drive, I talk to Gemini and ask it questions that I never learned in school, yung live na Gemini. Like what caused World War I, what were covalent bonds, what are ionic bonds. Pag hindi ko maintindihan, explain it to me like I'm 10. Explain niya. Pag hindi ko pa rin maintindihan, explain it to me like I'm 5. So the second AI is to use it as an author for creation and co-writing. Just as God made us in His image, it seems we are now creating reflections of ourselves through code, taking on our style, our voice, even our tone, and even take it one step further, speak Japanese. The problem is AI hallucinates, and so the good attorney here in the Sandigan Bayan should have used the previous prompt or fact-check the cases herself before she submitted it. So napagalitan tuloy ng Sandigan Bayan because she used an imaginary case in her pleadings in defending a criminal case of all things. No? So another example of assist and author combined is an attorney GPT, which I made, a custom GPT with a defined set of instructions so that when you feed something to it or ask a question, it limits itself to your parameters. Like in this case, Philippine law and jurisprudence, among other parameters. So here's where I asked it some information about some labor laws. So tinanong ko siya, nilimit ko lang talaga. You can train it. GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. So when you say pre-trained, you can actually teach it. So you have to teach your GPT. You can create a GPT and train it like a co-worker. Di ba? Pag co-worker mo, lalo na pag under sa'yo, tuturuan mo, pagtsatsagaan mo. So I asked it what the minimum wage is in Manila, so it gave an accurate answer. I also trained it with my own forms. So whenever I ask it to create, like say, an affidavit of loss, or I even created a recognition of foreign divorce GPT. Before, it used to take me maybe 30 minutes to an hour to make it. But now I just take a picture of the divorce certificate, the marriage certificate, and I upload it to my template in my GPT, and it generates the pleading in seconds. Grabe, no? Ganong kagaling. As you may already know, you can ask it to help you create images and now videos for your products or services very quickly and cheaply. By the way, AI is not subject to copyright because for intellectual property rights to come into play, it has to protect work created by a person who is owed those rights. So AI is not covered. Since AI is not a person, AI generated output is not subject to copyright. And issues that await our jurisprudence is a case where it will be determined. So ano yung covered? What is the ratio of human AI creation? 51% human? We have yet to see what the courts will say. Europe, as I mentioned earlier, is more regulatory and risk-based. Meron low risk, medium risk, high risk. High risk is for medical information or financial information, and you have to register your AI models, and it's regulated by the government, which is good for us, no? But the US and China are in a race, and so both are more liberal and supportive of the development of AI. But the bottom line is this: AI is a tool unlike any other, but it is still just a tool. It's not God, it's not omniscient, it's just the internet with a faster, better thinking and talking interface now. It's a special tool that can do wonders for us that has never been done before. But as with any tool, we need to know 4 things. We need to know what it can, what it cannot do, what we must not do, and what we must do. Because tools are dangerous if not used properly. First is to know what it can do. It can serve as leverage for your calling. Your skills times AI is you to the power of AI. Imagine, not incremental gains like the 1% better every day by James Clear in Atomic Habits, which makes you 37 times better by the end of the year. You'll be 100 to 1,000 times better in seconds, depending on how skilled you are and how good your integrations are. Integrate your skill with AI, and you will be rewarded with the benefits. AI has the speed of research as well, integration and daily activities through technology, and is now very easy to use because of the large language models. And AI is also very good with the physical sciences, design or help calculate. I have an architect friend from Ayala Land, and they are already using AI for design and architecture. We must know what AI cannot do. It cannot give you skill. You have to learn yourself and then apply AI to leverage your skill. 0 times AI equals? 0. Sabi ng asawa ko, 1. 0. AI cannot also practice empathy. It cannot love. It cannot believe. It cannot imagine. It cannot think out of the box. It cannot empathize with the people whose problems you're offering to solve. Can pretend to give you love by saying romantic words gathered from the internet, but it can only do what you ask it to do. Input, output lang yan. Finally, don't trust AI with the social sciences. As Andrew Ng of Google and other great minds admit, that this is one of the major issues facing AI. Since it was made by humans, it also has the biases of humans that made them. This carries over to AI algorithms in hiring, preferring a certain class or gender, or in criminal investigations or profiling. Na parang yung mga kakulay ko, mas suspect tuloy. This is an admitted limitation and weakness of AI. In fact, I asked Gemini what a sociopath is. Alam mo sagot sa akin ng Gemini, we don't use those terms anymore. Aba, masyadong politically correct. One of the audience in another AI talk last week asked an AI model who owns the West Philippine Sea, and the AI said it's called the South China Sea. So, when it comes to political or ideological themes, it's still a hit or miss. So don't trust AI so much on these. Remember, AI is a tool. You can use it for enlightenment or propaganda. But remember, It's still a tool. Sabi nga ni Buzz Lightyear kay Woody, you are a toy. Don't substitute it for thinking through issues. Third, you must know what you must not do, and is to substitute it for process. Passion, incubation, stillness, and inspiration. AI has never been made to wait or experience longing o namatayan ng nanay. It never had its heart broken, so it can never feel what you can feel, and so it can never express that feeling. Don't ever also substitute it for genuine preparation and diligence. Yun nga, yung katamaran. Wala na, kailangan ko na mag-present kay sir o kay ma'am. I-AI ko na lang, di ba? Sagot. And also, don't trust blindly like attorney did earlier. And never ever make public the output without your input. Never make public the output without your input. Make sure the AI output isn't already registered or trademarked or already copyrighted material. Finally, know what you must do. Be the human in the loop. Sabi nga ni Alan Tan. Otherwise, you're the AI. Verify the output. Leverage it through your God-given abilities. Ang process ko po, I know what I do or I have an idea of what I want to do. I tell this to the AI and ask if it understands me. Then I always prompt it to ask me 5 questions to improve its response. Then it generates the output. I still refine it. So I provide the seed. Then it makes anywhere from 40 to 80% of what I need. Then I interact with it some more. Then I edit the final version. And finally, we have to be transparent. Let's admit it kung AI ang work natin. In conclusion, the advertising industry stands at a crossroads. You wield unprecedented power now to shape minds, influence decisions, and craft the narratives that define our culture. With AI as our exponential leverage, we can reach more people, create more compelling content, and solve client challenges faster than ever before. But since it's National Heroes Month, sabi nga, with great power comes great responsibility. In a world drowning in deepfakes, misinformation, and synthetic content, the advertising industry has the unique opportunity to become a beacon of authenticity and integrity. The question isn't therefore whether AI will compromise the truth in advertising. The question is, will you compromise the truth through AI? The challenge is how to use AI to transform your agency by serving more clients authentically and by making people's lives genuinely better, not just selling them more stuff faster. Use AI to research deeply and verify more thoroughly than ever before. And remember, finally, your AI cannot be sued, fired, or go to jail. You can. So be the agency that clients trust, not because you have the flashiest AI tools, but because you have the most rigorous human oversight. The future of advertising isn't just about who adopts AI first, it's about who uses it most responsibly. The industry needs you to be that standard bearer. Will you accept the challenge? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Santiago. Very insightful presentation right there. Next, we'd like to know more about AI's legal implications. I mean, we've already known AI's legal implications. Now, we're interested in the ethical considerations, which are equally very, very important in advertising, no? In this case. So we'd like to call on Mr. Carl Jo Javier for his presentation. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
All right, there we go. Good afternoon. So I've been saying to people that AI reveals who we really are. And what I have discovered right now is that Josh is the lawyer and I'm the guy who kind of struggled to graduate from creative writing because of the preparation and the way that he's really structured the conversation. I did have a video that I wanted played. If we can cue that up, please. So to introduce, I think some of the people may probably be familiar with this advertisement, but it is a conversation starter, especially if you haven't seen it yet. I think from this morning's conversations and on and on, we keep hearing about deepfakes and the need to regulate and this challenge of we're all kind of waiting for some regulation to happen, but also this conversation for us here about self-regulation. And that is something that I think within the realm of ethics, we want to advance codes of ethics for specific ad agencies, companies, whoever is within this space and within all business spaces, you should be thinking about codes of ethics in the same way that you think about your leave policies or your gender policies more than anything else. Because I think that the governance should come from communities, from companies, before we start asking government to start regulating us. Is the video?
Since we don't have the video available right now, maybe you can do an interpretative dance. No, not really. Just kidding.
This
Just
is what
making things
happens
lively
when
here.
fails.
Okay.
Ganon. No, but
No, I'm sure Mr. Carl Joe Javier here can just as competently and skillfully explain his presentation.
okay, so I'll just run through the video very shortly, and it's this ad for sports, and what you see for about the women for about a minute is men's soccer highlights, and
I think I saw
Yeah.
that. You showed that to us.
and after a
Yes.
minute, it reveals that these men's soccer highlights are actually a deep fake of women's soccer highlights. And so what the video does is it takes our inherent gender biases, makes us think, of course, this is how men play, then uses deepfake technology to reveal that, no, this is actually women, and we were actually super biased, and we never imagined women playing like this. And they play as intensely, as well, as exciting as men do. And so that is something that could be done with deepfakes that could not have been done before. And the reason why I think that's a really important ad is because it shows that advertising can lead towards more progressive thinking. That's one. Number two, with an advertisement like that, hindi minadali yon. And that's the thing when people talk about AI is it will make things faster, it will make things easier, and so on and so forth. And so what we're doing is we're trying to approach AI with lowest hanging fruit kind of thinking. When actually, this is an incredibly powerful tool. Am I just going to use this to generate like crappy videos? Or can I actually find some way that is more artistic? And I'm sure that at some point we'll get this video to you. And if I were in advertising, I would be sitting there going, I dream of being part of a campaign like this. And that's the thing with AI is that it's such a powerful tool that it should spark the imaginations of everyone who is creative. Josh is talking about things that he does with AI. We do similar things, but I'm sure we're also doing different things. And I'm sure that everyone who is playing with the chatbot is using it in ways that are not yet fully maximized. Right? There are so many chatbots there, and that's just limited. Right? I'm teaching a class, because I teach creative writing. I'm teaching a class where I'm asking students to apply the principles of conceptual art to AI. What can you create using vibe coding, generative AI that you could not create on your own? How can you imagine new work? And I think that's the challenge for us. Unfortunately, a lot of the rush becomes, how do I get rid of people? How do I make things faster? Push out product. But the truth of the matter is, and I'm sure we've all felt this at some point, there is a saturation point to our culture. Like the information media landscape is so saturated, and everything that we're being warned about with regard to AI is pretty true. It's going to be so fast to create content. And at some point, all of that content will be ignorable. And so the question becomes, once people want to ignore their feeds because it's filled with AI slop, what are the things that will break through? And the things that will break through are the things that still build human connection. So this sort of echoes the, if you won't be replaced by AI, you will be replaced by a human using AI. I don't like those terms as much as the idea that there is a marketplace for ideas and AI will help you work faster, but the ideas are yours. And the replacement happens when parang it's a weird thing because we hear the word cyborg in a lot of science fiction, but essentially we are all kind of cyborgs. Anyone who's ever had a conversation where you sent a GIF and the person sent a GIF back, that is cyborgified communication because that's not human to human communication anymore. So the question is, how good are we going to be at being cyborgs or centaurs or whatever new AI terminology is out there? And so I think the opportunity is, how can this make us more creative? How can we actually work with clients better? And again, my advocacy, specifically speaking to you all here today, is if your company does not have a code of ethics, make an AI code of ethics. Because if you have a code of ethics for AI, it signals to your staff that they should be exploring this technology. If you don't have a code of ethics, they will be using AI secretly. This is the general finding. Most companies are not adopting AI at an organizational level, but most individuals are using AI to make themselves faster. And if you ask your staff, hindi sila aamin kasi malalaman mo na they don't need to spend as much time doing the work that they're doing, right? So, madadagdagan ng that's the fear. Bumibilis ka pala, idadagdagan natin ng trabaho yan. Di ba? But if you start to institutionalize the use of AI, then you institutionalize the idea that time on task should lessen, and then you create more time. And the question becomes, how do you utilize that time? Do you use it for rest? Kasi kailangan din naman natin yon. Do you use it to be more creative? Do you use it to build out the business and so on and so forth? But it begins with institutionalizing AI adoption. And there's a recent study, so there are these things that have been cited now. So just to discuss some of them. One, the MIT study that was cited earlier, what they did was they had students write an essay. One batch of students wrote the essay. Another batch of students had ChatGPT write the essay. 4 months later, they asked the students who wrote the essay questions about it, and then they asked the students who used ChatGPT, what do you think the findings are going to be? The person who used ChatGPT could not answer. Right, could not recall.
What they wrote.
But, guys, how many of you can recall what you ate for lunch 2 days ago? Diba? So being able to recall an essay written 4 months ago is a difficult thing to do in a study to expect to show whether ChatGPT makes you dumber or not. Diba? Which is that's where the media narrative goes. The other one, you'll see last week naglabas ang MIT again that 95% of Fortune 500 companies that implemented AI process had failed projects or negative ROI on those AI attempts. The challenge with that thing is it's a top-down. And what we're finding is when you implement AI, it shouldn't be some big boss saying to the team, okay guys, bumili na ako ng AI program, gamitin nyo na. Because that's not going to get adopted. Number one reason it's not going to get adopted is because of fear, right? Your staff is afraid of being replaced, and therefore, any adoptions of AI will be resisted when it goes top-down. But the more effective findings are, if you start with staff discovering what AI can make their work better or easier, then those are the more easily adopted. And then it's a bottom-up approach. And so this is again the advocacy of, if you build a code of ethics, then you can have a bottom-up approach. You create a framework for AI exploration in your company, and then you unlock the opportunities of AI. Ethics still underpins because we don't want to be waiting for regulation to tell us what we can and can't do. And as an industry, if you already establish codes of ethics within your companies, that can escalate with industry-level code of ethics, which can then guide future regulation. Because you don't want, overbearing regulation telling you what you can or can't do. I think we have the video ready, and the thing to keep in mind is if we have overbearing regulation, this video could not be created because the current impulse right now is dapat bawal ang deepfake. So yeah.
Ah, c'est passé. Oui, c'est passé. Bien sûr que c'est passé. Maintenant, faut que ça aille au bout.
Allez.
Ouais, c'est bien joué. Il n'y a plus qu'à la
Allez.
pousser.
Allez.
Il n'y a plus
Allez.
qu'à la pousser. Voilà. C'est pénalty, ça. C'est fait. Les Bleus qui reviennent dans le match.
Et on a encore le droit de rêver.
Avec le pied droit. Quel toucher de balle extraordinaire. Là, il y a un bon ballon de contre à jouer. Bien fait le pour le centre en crack. Bah oui, bravo. Il va direct. Il est direct. Le centre en retrait. Oh, le geste de d'ailleurs. Ah, la tête piquée. Superbe.
Elle est belle cette équipe.
Ouais, c'est ça. Le football qu'on aime. C'est ça. Les Bleus qu'on aime.
The idea is how are we going to take this technology that's already this good? It's already this good. We don't know if it's going to get better because if anybody used ChatGPT 5, it's not great, diba? But where we are now with the technology versus what we could be doing with it, ang laki ng gap. And I think among industries, this industry specifically has the creativity and sort of the willingness to explore what those boundaries are. And so setting up good ethical standards for this will allow you to unlock really interesting campaigns.
Okay, so let's hear it for Carl, Joe, Javier. Thank you so much, Attorney Josh and Carl, for for the very informative and very revealing presentation about AI, no? So we all know that AI is transforming the way brands connect with people. For advertisers, the opportunities are enormous, from greater efficiency to increase creativity to deeper engagement. But alongside these opportunities come equally big questions. And I would like to start this conversation by asking about that video that you showed, no, Carl, about deep faking. Kasi obviously this is using AI in a positive sense, because you educated your audiences against the dangers of gender bias. So on that note, AI is an ally. But of course, more often than not, AI tends to be demonized because of because of the negativity that it spreads online, So, but we will delve on that later on, Attorney. Meanwhile, kasi I asked you earlier, for those of us who are still, unfamiliar with AI and what it can do, what it does, what are the terms that we need to look out for? Apart from deepfake, of course, no? Yung mga things that are closely associated with AI that we are not familiar with. What terms should we look out for in terms of artificial intelligence?
Marami siya, but off the top of my head, one, so deep faking basically, and for anyone who hasn't done this before, it should take you about 5 minutes. All you need is a Discord account to sign up for a deep fake app, and it will do it for you. That's one.
There's an app.
There's many. There's
Oh my
many,
God.
right? So it's super easy. If you have any kind of Google access, as we all do, then you all have access to Google Veo. You can feed a video, you can feed a photo into Google Veo, and then it will animate that photo out. So there's all of these things that are available in terms of deepfakes. Really easy. Probably the biggest thing we should be worrying about is hallucinations. So hallucination is a nice little word that they're using for AI making stuff up. And that connects to the term psychophancy. So you just have to remember, because part of Attorney Josh's presentation was you should not treat AI as an emotional companion because AIs are sycophants. Basically, they're designed to give you answers even if those answers do not exist in the real world. It was earlier this year, Chicago Sun-Times got in trouble because they published a book of summer reads. 15 summer reads, half of the list was AI generated. They were not books that existed. Tapos tamad si writer, tamad si editor. They published this in print. Right? And again, this goes to the lack of trust or loss of trust by media because of the usage of AI, because they didn't even bother to check. Because, and again, this isn't an AI problem. This is people being lazy and using AI rather than doing their work and trying to find 15 good books, which shouldn't be that hard. Di ba? So AI will hallucinate, it will make things up. Is that bad? No, that's a feature. Because it is capable of making things up, you can use it as a thought partner. Because it will help you think of things that you couldn't think of, because it's being built on the entirety of human knowledge. But also, because it's being built on the entirety of human knowledge, part of that entirety is the garbage of the internet. And so it will give you some of that stuff as well. So, yeah, so the training data matters. And a lot of that training data is crawled from the internet. It's like talking to somebody who lives on Reddit, but they're very smart, unlike a lot of people who live on Reddit.
Okay. All right. So this time, let's talk about transparency. Okay. Consumers often don't know when AI is at work behind the scenes. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos and even photos on social media that were actually AI generated. But then, for some reason, people still keep sharing them even if they're not accurate. I remember seeing this photo, just to cite an example, of Phil Collins on the hospital bed. And then he looked really glum, like he was parang dying or something. And then there was Paul McCartney playing the guitar. And then the nurses behind them were looking equally glum. So what message would that give you, di ba? Parang, uy, mamamatay na si Phil Collins, di ba? When in fact, none of it is true. And then, if you take a second look at the photo, it's actually AI generated. Okay? So, oo nga pala. Yung mga iba pala dito sa audience natin, hindi kilala si Phil Collins at saka si Paul McCartney. Okay, all right. So again, I just aged myself. Okay, Phil Collins kasi is...
We're okay.
Okay, we're okay, Carl. Phil Collins is...
You'll be in my heart.
You'll Be in My Heart sa Tarzan. He was the one who sang that song. Oh, rings a bell na ba? Anyway, he's a famous musician and drummer in the 80s. Oh my God. And of course, Paul McCartney is the legendary, Paul McCartney of the Beatles. Okay, so there. Anyway, yun na nga, no? So, more often than not, people don't know whether AI is behind these images or videos. So, should they be told that the ad, for instance, in advertising, should they be told that the ad was created with AI? Would disclosure build trust, or will it just confuse audiences?
right now, there's no regulation yet requiring you to disclose whether it was done with AI or not. But I remember the example of Sir Robbie during our Zoom meeting where there was an ad of a photo. I think they're selling real estate, and there was a child. And the Department of Labor called the agency and asked, may ano ba yan? May permit ba yan? Yung picture ng bata. And then
Oo,
the
kasi
child pala
child
was
labor.
AI generated.
Okay.
So I guess in those instances where it will be vague and there are some regulations, perhaps it would be safe if there were to be disclosure. But then again, it would be weird, diba? This photo was created by Photoshop or by with watercolor, but AI is just the same, the medium. Eh. Then again, the difference here is that the entire creative work was almost done by the artificial intelligence and no longer by the human enhancing an existing work or copying an existing work, but a human giving verbal instructions on the AI, or maybe even editing, AI editing, which was done in the video. But now there's no regulation yet for it. But then again, maybe in cases like where there would be a child in the video or in the ad, and that would require dole permits, then maybe it would be appropriate to disclose.
Okay. So you're saying that it's okay to disclose? Disclosure is
So-
fine?
In the absence of any kind of regulation, I think, again, judgment calls, codes of ethics, but you can start to think about what are the uses that might not merit. So for example, we can edit voice. And so should I disclose that AI was used to edit voice every time when it's just a snippet or a word? For example, and
Yung Greatest Showman, di ba?
huh?
Greatest Showman, they used
Yeah, or the brutalist, di ba? But more simply, for example, meron kayong client, tapos in the middle of execution, yung key message, they decided to change one word. How much is it going to cost to bring in your voice talent, to record that one word, when you could fix it with AI? And if you did fix it with AI and everyone agreed, voice talent agrees, client agrees, do you really need to put that as part of the ad?
as your lawyer pala, I remind you to include that in your contracts with talents.
Yes.
Kailangan
So that,
yung talent
Oo
have
nga.
sign off.
Naku, thank you. Thank you for
They
pointing
give
that
their
out,
consent
attorney.
to AI editing.
Yeah.
And
This is why
no
it's
additional
important.
comments.
This is why it's important that you have a code of ethics, you present it to the freelancers that you work with, you also present that to the clients to let them know these are the limits of what your usage of AI will be. And so, so something like that, would it feel like dapat? But if it's a fully AI generated image and you're trying to sell real estate, sabi talaga yun, di ba? Even, assembled or photoshopped images, when you see, it's like artist rendering of the concept. Merong ganon. So these are judgment calls. Again, let's not wait for regulation. Let's focus on that. But also, part of the thinking is brand reputation. If your brand thrives on authenticity, being real, being more human, being connected, tapos gumamit ka ng AI, tapos hindi kayo open about it, tapos nahalata, dun sa sabit yon.
It's interesting that you mentioned something about voice because, well, we're going a bit off topic here. But in a way, it's also related to advertising. Because
Everything is AI.
Yes. I'm a professional voiceover artist. And I've voiced commercials for radio and television and even corporate videos. And I belong to a community of voiceover artists. We call ourselves Vocalians. I think I have fellow members here. I think the founder is here. Where are you? Robbie? Robbie Joseph and Mitch Amurao. Please stand to be recognized. There you are. Okay, they represent Vocalians, which is a community of voiceover artists and dubbers, of course, they're here to learn more about AI and the ethical use of AI in advertising because it involves us. voiceover artists, no? So, um, how can the law protect us, voiceover artists, from from incidents like those, our voice being duplicated with the use of AI without our knowledge and used for commercial purposes? I mean, I'm not saying it's happened before, but just to just to
Right. Right now, there are neighboring rights protected under the intellectual property laws. That means yung mga creation ninyo and performances are protected. Even yung recordings of those performances, those are protected unless it's under fair use policy, like done for research or nag-post lang sa Facebook, hindi naman sila kumikita for it. But right now, the digital likeness, it is arguable. And so we are on very murky ground still in the legal sphere kasi the law will always play catch up with technology. And as technology progresses, the law will wait and see who it is harming and who it is putting at a disadvantage, and if there's a need to regulate. If there's and then of course there's the advocacy portion. So maybe artists, creators, talents like yourself and others should really band together so that if the AI bill or is passed into law, then at least there will be some protection for creators, artists, and the like.
Okay, so for now, we just have to be more vigilant,
Be vigilant,
kasi
yeah.
there are no laws protecting us. But hopefully naman
Actually, you're worried about that being taken now, but maraming Filipino authors whose books were used as training data in copyright violation in creating the llama models ng Meta. So actually, so that one is trying to claw back some kind of remuneration for
Right.
copyrights that have already been violated. So this is one of the, I often in talks I call it like the original sin of generative AI, which is that it's built on the internet. It's built on a lot of unpaid or low-paid labor from developing countries, and it's built on the violation of a lot of copyright. And so there have been immense ethical breaches in the building of large language models like ChatGPT. So we know that these violations have been committed, which means we have to be vigilant in terms of creating barriers now to these things happening again. So for example, visual artists are putting, you can put like I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's almost like a code where if the AI crawls it, it's unable to see your image. So there are certain things like this that block crawlers, but there has to be something a little more comprehensive than that. And we don't know what that is yet, but banding together and then demanding some level of protections is the first step. And exploring what is already in existence in law. Because, for example, existing copyright should protect most of these things already.
sana yung bill na pinasa ni Representative Romualdez will also cover every aspect or every sector that will be affected, greatly affected by AI, and hopefully it will include us. Okay, moving on. Let's move on with another question here. While advertising thrives on creativity, originality, AI is powerful in the sense that it makes one's work a lot easier and less time consuming. Okay? So, is there a possibility that AI might help or hurt creativity, the creative process?
Oh, definitely. If you're lazy and you just want to clock out and go to the mall and tell your boss that you did it, you did the work. Ayun. That's really the risk of AI, of tools, basically. Google made us lazy. Copy-paste made us, well, not necessarily naman lazy, because these are helpful tools if applied the right way. Like I said, it's a tool, so it can be used, it can properly, it's going to help. If it's misused or abused, then it's gonna stifle the creative process.
So, it all boils down to the user, because it is just a tool. It should be made clear, no, that it's just a tool. It's not the real villain. The real villain here is the user who uses it to do more harm than good.
It's supposed to help you. So, for example, you have an idea. I have this, and these are my ideas. Can you alliterate them? Or can you restate them in a way that the audience will remember? So it will help you, but ultimately, you should make the final decision pa rin.
Yeah, so ang funniest na nakikita ko ay kapag may yung mga mahilig sa acrostic. So ibibigyan nila yung acrostic, tapos papagawa sila ng, ayan, fill it out, this is the thing, and then naka-acrostic na siya. So it's those little things, but I think the way we should be thinking about it, and because I'm advocating for responsible adoption, you think of the part of your job that you really, really dislike, and then you figure out, how can I automate that? How can I make that something that I don't need to deal with? So I used to work in podcasting, and one of the things that I had to deal with was yung mga tao na ma-inhale sa mic. Right? And it would take like an hour to delete all of those inhales.
Wow.
And with one click of AI, matatanggal mo lahat yon, which allows me to focus on the more creative parts. So it's two things. It's figuring out what are the things I don't like to do or nakakatamad o ganyan. So for example, most of us will have template letters. You don't need to make template letters anymore. You just make like a custom GPT for yourself that will write your business letters for you kasi nakakatamad at paulit-ulit lang yon. Or yung mga magsusulat ng proposal, you feed all of your successful proposals into one project if you're on Claude or into a custom GPT. And then when you have a new client, you put in your new client info and then ilalabas lang niya. Ako, I hate invoicing. So my AI does all my invoicing. Papasok ko lang lahat yan. So all of the things that you don't like to do, you let the AI do it. And then you identify the things that are crucial to you and important to you. And so for me, that's like editing words. Ganyan, mahilig ako. Obviously, AI can edit much faster than me, but it is a thing that I take joy in. And so I keep that for myself as part of my workflow, even if AI could do it better. And so each of us needs to formulate that. And then we should cascade it to other people on our teams. How am I using it? And then other people can figure out how. One of the reasons why AI adoption becomes difficult or intimidating is because there's this purveying force na it's going to replace you, bro. Kailangan mag-AI ka na, ganyan. But if we see that it's just something that we can implement and we figure out and we figure out what our workflow looks like and how it can support us, then it's just a thing that makes work better.
I'd just like to add, sa Philippine AI Business Association, there's a AI digital roadmap. So from AI awareness to the fifth level, which is AI first, to exactly eliminate all those tasks which are mundane, which you hate doing anyway, diba? But you can now assign an AI to do it for you. So if you would like to join us, if you're SMEs, it specifically targets SMEs. Yung mga malalaking companies, they can afford to create their own AI roadmaps, but this is particularly to put the Philippines on the map and to maybe make us one of the major players in the trillion-dollar market that is available for AI users.
Okay. We have a couple of questions via VVox here. The first one is from Joshua T. It says, with no comprehensive AI advertising laws in the Philippines yet, should the industry self-regulate first, or should we wait for government-led policies to define the boundaries? I think parang, that's why we're self-regulating. It's because we're trying to avoid nga intervention from outside entities, no? Anyway, Attorney.
And I suggest we do both. So we self-regulate and then we tell the legislators, this is how we're doing it, this is working. Maybe if you're going to enact any laws, you can just copy-paste our model and allow us to continue to self-regulate.
That's right. Anything to add, Carl?
Kasi if regulation will usually move towards fines and like the criminal cases and things like that. So edge case yan. But you don't want the edge cases defining how you operate as an industry. Right? So as an industry, you set what your standards are, And then the edge cases, those are the things that can be legislated for, yung mga grievous violations, people who are intentionally using this to mislead and so on and so forth. But don't wait for the government. Also, you have two incredibly conflicting bills between the Senate bill and the House bill. And the Senate bill has some real issues. Yeah, we're trying to be nice. Ganyan. It has some regulations that we would not want in play because they would make it very difficult for all of us to operate.
Right, right. I see your point there. Okay, next question comes from Miel Mendoza. It says, as AI blurs the line between human-made and machine-made advertising, how do we ensure transparency and fair credit, both legally and ethically, for real artists? I think that's also related to the question of
Parang ano yan,
about protecting.
But what is a real artist?
Huh?
But what is a real artist?
Is Milli Vanilli a real artist? Hindi. Yeah, but if you are the creator, then you enjoy legal and ethical protection under Philippine law and under international law. If it's a copyrighted mark and if it's a trademark that has been registered as well across different jurisdictions, then you can be protected. This is new. The combination of human and AI content. And so there is no hard and fast rule yet, even in other jurisdictions. Only insofar as the use of this output is concerned, that's the one regulated in Europe, like yung AI creates a report of your medical charts and says that you may have a tumor. Ganon. So those are highly regulated use cases of AI. And you have to register your AI application. The data must be very secure. The government will hold you under close scrutiny to make sure that none of those will leak out, including financial, mga banks, financial institutions, personal sensitive information. So yun. But insofar as creation is concerned, creative, artistic work, we have not yet defined what is the road there.
And I think for a law to be passed regarding AI and what's this, anything related to it, there has to be a consultative forum involving sectors that will most likely be affected by AI. Kasi ang hirap din na, to enact a law, tapos biglang meron pala din masasagasaan or matatapakan na sector, merong nakalimutan na sector, yung ganon. So,
Or stifle the whole creative, productive process.
That's right. So the legislature has to understand that there has to be a consultative forum involving sectors that will be directly affected by AI before they even pass a law on that. So
as a principle, it should not just be AI. Every single law should be consultative process with constituents.
That's right.
That's
Correct.
one. Number
Agree.
two, and for example, and I'm sure some of us experience this, yung maybe like a month and a half ago or something, yung NCAP, which is essentially an AI-enabled system, right? Yung no contact apprehension, because that's AI classification of what. And then what happened? It's half of them had to be canceled because they weren't real violations. So you had forced implementation, no consultation with us, the constituency, and then you implemented the system that was a 50-50 error rate. So
yes.
it is not a good implementation of AI, and yet that's one of the first touches of AI into our
Bakit palpak yung
public life.
technology, no?
Yes.
May kumita.
Wala ko sinasabi. So, in terms of regulation, it has to be consultative. It has to serve people, right? And that's why we have to take the initiative before larger legislation begins impositions to address this. And this is gonna sound a little bit flippant, but parang matagal na tayong machine-made ang mga bagay-bagay. Like all of us are doing stuff on laptops and using apps. Like name me a designer who doesn't use like some kind of digital to enhance or do their work. Name me a writer today, right, who works in these industries that still uses a typewriter, which is also a machine. And I understand that it's like, no, because this is smart. But essentially, almost all of our production is technologically mediated. And so the question is, how are we managing that technological mediation? And how are we advancing our own creativity versus like handing it off? But guys, have you ever really tried to hand off a creative project to AI? It kind of sucks. And even when you make it really, really smart, like I've built out a bunch of specialized
Prompt.
AI based on my different things, it's still not as intelligent. So credit, ibang issue yan because only humans can hold copyright. That's one of the things to consider because the principle of copyright is that if it's yours, you should be able to earn from it. But that's when it's original. But if we're talking about campaigns, diba, you're doing work for hire for a client. So I think we need to actually, this conflates a few conversations. Because if it's you as an individual creator, you as an individual artist, that's one conversation. And then doing campaigns which are AI assisted for a client is a different conversation altogether in terms of rights and holder and all of that stuff.
Okay, so we move on to our final question. It's from Robin, and Robin says, Attorney, I am fascinated by how you use ChatGPT for handling legal documents. May I ask, is it legal and safe to upload client files on the platform? How do you ensure that the data won't be misused? And do you usually seek client approval before doing so?
That's a good question. Very good question. Thank you for asking that question. So if you ask any AI model how it handles your data, it will say that it will use it only for training, but it will not use your sensitive private information. Yung large enterprise model, which I think you have to have 600 users and you pay, I think, $500 per user or $300 per user, which is not affordable for maybe 99%, 95% of us here. Dun lang nila sinasabi explicitly that we never use your data at all for training. But then again, sabi lang rin nila yun. We really don't know what happens behind the scenes. Now, as to the uploading of those documents, so yung publicly available documents that I feel confident of uploading because like yung notice of divorce, acceptance of divorce, family register, those are publicly available documents. It's just that it's in Japanese and it's translated. Pero yung mga vowsy cases, yung mga rape cases, yung mga psychological report, yun ang I didact the names so that I only leave maybe a letter or tapos yun yung papa-analyze ko, if at all. Otherwise, usually pag vowsy or psychological annulment based on psychological incapacity, we do it ourselves. So yun, that's a good question. But in terms of data security, it's really not secure. Everything you ask, actually, you ask it, what do you know about me? And the new models, Chat and Grok, and I think Gemini maybe, since it's Google, it will tell you. Tinanong ko nung isang araw, wow, very accurate. You're a speaker, lawyer, elder, etc., Christian who runs and you like to have fun and kulang lang sabihin niya kung ano yung favorite color ko But really, it's fascinating, it's amazing, it's terrifying, but it is a tool. And it's inevitable. Actually, our digital footprints are already all over the internet. If you check your Facebook, ano yung mga finifeed sa inyo? Yung mga hinahanap nyo, yung mga preferences ninyo. It suggests your friends, it suggests products based on your search history, and now it will base it based on your AI conversations. So this is the world we live in, and so I think we just need to be careful. Don't give out your credit card information to AI. Do not give out your mga PIN numbers sa AI. Can you, hindi mo makita yung credit card mo, picturean mo, can you tell me what the numbers are? No, don't do that. So yun, those are very common sense actions that we need to use to safeguard ourselves. But AI is here, and we just need to adapt or else be left very, very far behind.
Yeah, so small ethical note, no? In 2024, AI was primarily used for creativity. In 2025, AI is primarily used for coaching, mentoring, and companionship, friendship, and so on and so forth. Why is that a problem? Because very recently, one of the major companies had a leak. So everyone's conversations, impersonal, comforting
no.
conversations sila, were made available because of this leak. And so even if they assure you there are vulnerabilities there, there's information there that you don't want out. Health information, personal, diba? All of these things can be used against you. So being mindful about what information about ourselves we put up is going to be important. If you're on a free plan, they're training on you. Right? Just use that as the general rule. If you're on a free plan, they're training on you. If you're on a paid plan, you have to read that carefully because some of that may be used also. So don't upload stuff that is sensitive. If you can, and if you know how, hash your information, hash your data so that it isn't easily read, but these things can still be reconstructed.
Wow. Thank you. That's quite an eye-opener for all of us, no? I'm sure, no? And, bottom line basically is that AI can be both a threat and an ally if used properly. And again, it's just a tool, people. It's not the real enemy. The real enemy is the user.
Singit lang ako kasi we've been framing it as threat or ally. Guys, hindi siya tao. Hindi siya tao. Wala siyang consciousness. Wala siyang identity. Like, we need to treat it like it's built to appeal to our tendency to anthropomorphize, psychophancy. We want things to look human. If you draw two dots and a line, we see a smiley face. Because we want things to be human. We talk to our dogs and our cats and we treat them like humans. So this is building on that. But it's not an ally or it's neither. It is a tool.
Okay, all right, I stand corrected. It is a tool which can both help and harm you, depending on how you use it. Okay? So with that, we'd like to thank Attorney Josh and Carl Joe for joining us this afternoon. Wow, that was a very, very informative and such an eye-opener of a discussion. Thank you so much. Once again, another round of applause for both of them. Thank you. And now we pause for photos.